We're grateful for everyone taking the time to join this call today. I want to start by introducing myself and the other panelists on this call. My name is Andrea Guscott, and I am one of Senator Bob Casey's constituent advocates. Also on this call from Senator Casey's office is Juliana Stake. From the Social Security Administration, we are excited to introduce Richard Gaudiosi, who is Social Security's Public Affairs Specialist. From PA-ABLE, we are excited to introduce Diana Fishlock, who is the PA Bureau of Consumer Programs Outreach Specialist. We're grateful for all of our panelists willing to join our office for today's webinar. Before we get started, I'll quickly note that if you have any questions, please hold them off until the end of the presentation when we'll have a Q&A session. We ask that you please keep your questions general and applicable to as many people as possible since this is a public call. If you have questions regarding your own specific situation, contact information for Senator Casey's office will be provided during the presentation for you to reach out to directly. And at this time, I'm going to turn the call over to Richard with Social Security to delve more into the specifics.
All right, well, thank you, Andrea. And hello, everybody. Good afternoon. I am, as Andrea said, I'm here from the Social Security Administration, and I am one of the public affairs specialists in southeastern Pennsylvania. So we're going to cover Social Security disability benefits, and we'll have time for questions at the end. So, Julianne, you want to advance the slides? Okay, folks, so we're going to go through really an overview of our disability benefit program. So, don't worry if you don't get every single thing today, because between our website and speaking with us either in person or by phone, you'll be able to get any information, additional information that you need. And as I said today, we'll have time for Q&A at the end. Okay. So our agency has two disability benefit programs. First, of course, is Social Security. With, most people have some familiarity with the disability aspect of Social Security. Almost everybody is familiar with the retirement program and also the survivor's benefit program. But any of those programs, retirement, disability, survivors, they're all based on a worker's earnings. Someone must have worked at a Social Security covered job for a period of time and paid Social Security taxes, and that allows either they themselves or family members to receive benefits later on. We also have another program, which is a needs-based program. That's Supplemental Security Income, which is commonly called SSI. And SSI has no work requirement. That's a difference between that and Social Security. It is, as I said, needs-based, so therefore a person has to meet certain income and asset limits, which we'll talk about. So these are the two programs under which we pay disability benefits. And you notice that we have the Social Security text in blue and the SSI text in sort of a reddish color. That's what we're going to do throughout. So if you kind of lost your bearings as to which program we're referring to, you can always go back. Blue is Social Security, that reddish or pink is SSI. And at the top, anything that's in a neutral black, that would be something that covers both programs, because some of the rules apply to both Social Security and SSI, and some are unique just to that particular program. Okay, next slide. So I mentioned that in order for someone to receive Social Security, you must have paid into the system for a while, or somebody in the family must have paid into the system. So the work requirements for disability, those are different than the work requirements for someone who's applying for retirement. So for disability, the person's age when they become disabled, that's a big factor in how much work they need to have done. So it comes down basically to two types of breakdowns of work that a person must have done. First of all, they need an overall number of work credits throughout their lifetime. Doesn't matter how they're scattered through the different years. And then they also need to get disability on their own work record. They need to have worked recently under the program, because Social Security is saying, okay, you no longer are able to work. We're going to replace earnings that have been lost due to your disability. But if you haven't been working and paying into the system, then the question arises, well, what are we replacing here? So you need an overall number of credits, doesn't matter when they're earned, and then you need credits in a certain period of time, which we'll go over in a second. And this year, $1,730 of gross earnings gives you 1 credit. You can only earn a maximum, however, a maximum of 4 credits in any one calendar year, no matter how much money you earn. So if a person made $100,000, let's say, they would earn 4 credits, which is the same number of credits that would be available to somebody who's making a little bit over $6,800. So, and just so you know, for retirement, someone needs 40 credits, which is 10 years of work scattered throughout their lifetime. Okay, next slide. So the definition of disability is the same both for the Social Security program and for the SSI program. A person applying for disability for themselves has to have some type of physical or mental impairment, which either is expected to last or has already lasted 12 months. So if someone gets injured today or has an accident or whatever, the projection just has to be that this condition is going to last at least a year going forward. A person may have already had this condition 6 months ago, then the expectation would be it's going to last at least another 6 months. So it has to be a 12-month duration. And in addition to having the impairment that's going to last that amount of time at least, the condition must prevent the person from doing what we call substantial work. And you see substantial work is in quotes because that is a dollar figure which goes up a bit every year. And in 2024, earnings of $1,550 in a month are considered to be substantial. So what that means is that you could have a person who's working, maybe they're making $1,000 a month, $1,200 a month, and they suffer some type of injury or have some type of impairment. In theory, they could apply while they're still working and be approved for disability because the work that they're doing is not considered substantial. And that's the key thing here. The condition must prevent you from doing substantial work. And that figure goes up, as I said, a little bit each year. Okay. So if a person wanted to file for disability, there's a couple ways you can do that. Some people like to use our website to file online. If you want to do that, you can do your entire Social Security disability application online. You would just go to our website, which is ssa.gov for Social Security Administration, and you can begin the process there. If you prefer to have it done through a local office, then you can request a phone application. You would call our 800 number system, 1-800-772-1213, and you would set up a phone appointment, and they would schedule it for, a particular morning, 10 o'clock, let's say, and you will be called by someone from Social Security. So it's either file the entire application yourself online or set up a phone appointment with us, either locally or sometimes they're handled by call centers. Okay, next slide. So once the application is filed and we have information about your medical condition, where you've been treated, things like that, who is going to make the decision as to whether you meet our disability requirements? Well, all that medical information is sent to what's called a Disability Determination Services site in the state of Pennsylvania. So we have one in Wilkes-Barre, we have one in Harrod, Greensburg. There's some different ones around the state. And these are folks who work for this Pennsylvania contract with the and doctors are going to review the evidence that's gathered. We're going to get evidence from your medical sources, and then we'll make a determination. Right now, that processing time to make a medical decision is taking a long while, too long. We're trying to reduce the time frame, but right now we're talking 200 to 230 days. So it's maybe like 6, 7, 8 months or so to get a medical determination. It used to be in the past we were able to have these completed in about 3 or 4 months, but now we have a backlog, so people are waiting longer. We're trying to fix that and do certain things that would help speed up the time frame. Okay, next slide. So if at the end of so many months the Social Security claim is approved, and remember, we're talking about Social Security here in blue. We'll talk about SSI in a little bit. If the Social Security claim is approved, the person filed based on their own work, then benefits will be due after a 5-month waiting period is served. This is a 5-month period for which the person is not paid. So the example here would be if someone had their disability begin today, May 22nd, 2024. So let's say they got injured today and they file a claim and they're approved, their entitlement will begin after 5 non-pay months. So that would be June, July, August, September, October, meaning their entitlement would begin the month of November 2024, and Social Security checks for a particular month are paid the following month. So your November benefit is paid in December. So if this person was became disabled today and everything went through fine, then they'd be looking at receiving their first payment in the month of December. A person is also due Medicare from the federal government after they've been receiving Social Security benefits 24 months of disability. As long as their 24 months have passed since they're first entitled, they can get Medicare. And example here, someone becomes entitled to cash benefits at the age of 40. 2 years later at 42, they have Medicare available to them if they want. So that's the medical insurance that's provided for Social Security disability. Okay, next slide. If the claim is denied, and you see this is in neutral black, so this would apply to both SSI and Social Security. Upon receiving the denial notice in the mail, a person would have 60 days to file a reconsideration. Now, reconsideration is saying, obviously, that the person disagrees with the denial, and they have a chance to update their file with additional medical information or provide us with anything new that they feel needs to be in the file. And the case would go back up to the disability determination site, and a whole new group of people will work on the second decision. They'll make a reconsideration decision. That'll take a while. If a person's reconsideration is denied, well, let me say, if the reconsideration is approved, then the local office would take steps to start paying the individual. If the reconsideration is denied, there are several other appeals that will remain. One is a hearing before an administrative law judge. A person does not have to be there in person. If they want, they can, but they don't have to. If the hearing is denied, there's an appeals council review down in the Baltimore, Washington area. Again, the person does not have to go to that. And if the appeals council is not a positive decision, then a person has a right to file a lawsuit in federal court. So the good thing about keeping the appeal going is that if you're approved at appeal, then generally you're going to be paid back to the original application date. If you let the 60 days lapse and you don't have a good reason for doing so, and you come in afterwards, in most cases we're starting with a new application, and you would have a new date, and potentially you could lose benefits if you're approved the second time, and you could have had the initial claim continue through an appeal. So that's the one good thing about appeals. It keeps your claim active. Okay, next slide. So now we're going to talk a little bit about the SSI program, Supplemental Security Income. As we said, it's a needs-based program, so it has income limits. And in 2024, the federal benefit has a maximum monthly payment amount of $943. And if a person has no other income, they're approved for SSI, they can receive $943. If you have a married couple and both people are going to be on SSI or have applied for SSI and they're approved, they would divide $415 between the two of them. That's the maximum payment. If there's some other income, however, that would decrease what's paid for SSI because it's a supplement. It's going to bring you up to a certain level. If a person has some other income, they do get the advantage of having a $20 exclusion applied to that other income, meaning we will discount $20 of the other income. So the example here, someone is receiving $700 in Social Security. They're approved for SSI as well. They could get $263 in SSI from the federal government. That, of course, adds up to $963, which is $20, and then the limit for someone who has no other income. So you get a bit of a break of $20 applied there. Okay, next one. In addition to having income limits that must be met, the individual must meet certain asset or what we call resource limits. And resources, what are they? They are anything that can be liquidated into cash, obviously including cash, money in the bank, stocks, bonds, things like that. Non-home property, if a person owns their home or is buying it with a mortgage, as long as they live on that property, then that's fine. It doesn't count towards the resource limit. If, however, a person has property elsewhere they do not live on, then the market value of that property is going to count towards this resource limit. And the resource limit is not very high. It has not changed in a long time. You see there for an individual, it's $2,000. And for a married couple, they would have a combined limit of $3,000. This is whether it's one person of the couple who's applying for SSI or both. So, you know, if a single person has $2,500 or $2,100 or some figure like that, they would be denied based on being over the resource limit. They would have to spend some of that money down to get down to the 2,000 allowable limit. Okay, next slide. So filing the SSI application. For SSI, you can usually only complete the medical portion online. There's some situations where you can do the entire claim, but in most cases, you can only do the medical. So you would initiate by going to our website, you would start the medical, and then what will happen is that the local office, Social Security office, will be notified, obviously electronically, that you filed, you started this claim, and they will contact you to set up an application, appointment time to do the non-medical portion, ask questions about income and assets, things like that. So the important thing is to get the ball rolling with SSI applications and Social Security too, but SSI, it's particularly important to, if you want to file, to make a contact with us or start the application online. Okay, I'm not certain if that's the last one. We'll go to the next one. That might be the last one. Okay. I'm sorry. If the claim is approved, then the SSI benefits that are going to be paid are usually retroactive to what's called the effective date of the application. For example, if someone contacted us today and said they wanted to file for SSI, the effective date of the application is going to be the first day of the next month. So that would be June 1st. So why is that important to know? Well, because as we get towards the end of a particular month, let's say the end of May, sometimes people say, yeah, I want to file a claim. I'm going to call Social Security next week. Well, if it's the last week of May and you say, I'm going to call next week, and you call next week, now you're into June, which is going to push the application date, the effective date, out to July. So it's important, again, to, if you want to file, to not delay it and get in touch with us. Someone who is approved for SSI in the state of Pennsylvania automatically is entitled to Medicaid from the state. There's nothing they have to do, just the fact that they've been approved for SSI. The Medicaid folks accept our determinations, and the person will be entitled to Medicaid. In some states around the country, it's a separate application process, separate from SSI, but not in Pennsylvania. It's automatic. And I do think now that is the last one, I believe. Yes.
All right. Well, thank you, Richard, so much for sharing that important information about Social Security disability and SSI. I'm now going to turn the call over to Diana to discuss PA-ABLE.
Thank you so much. I'm very happy to be here. I'm going to have you forward through at least one slide, maybe a few. Yep, you can keep going. All right, awesome. Our treasurer, Stacey Garrity, says hello as well, and she and I are both very happy that you attended today. So PA-ABLE is a special savings account, a special savings program that helps individuals with disabilities to be able to save without jeopardizing benefits. Excuse me. It provides a way for people to have more financial security and more choices. Individuals with disabilities can save in there, as well as their loved ones. as Richard said, people receiving SSI are pretty limited. They can only have $2,000 of assets. ABLE assets are not counted against that. So that can be a big advantage for people. Next slide, please. So if a person has a PA ABLE account, that $2,000 that they're able to save expands to $100,000, which is a real game changer. It really opens up the possibilities, pardon me, really opens up the possibilities for someone for the kinds of expenses that they can save for. This year, this calendar year, an ABLE account can accept up to $18,000, somewhat more for some people who are employed. So that doesn't mean that you and I can both put $18,000 in a single account. That means that that single account can hold $18,000 this year, no matter how many people are contributing. So individuals who are receiving SSI can save up to $100,000 in an ABLE account. And a person who does not receive SSI, who receives any other kinds of benefits, can save more than $500,000 in an ABLE account in Pennsylvania. That can definitely make a huge difference. Next slide, please. Funds in an ABLE account are pretty easy to access in Pennsylvania, and you can use them for a wide variety of expenses. So as I mentioned, it gives people more options and more financial security. Next slide, please. So one of the biggest features of ABLE accounts is that individuals can save without jeopardizing their benefits. This includes both current benefits and any future benefits that you might need to apply for in future years. Pennsylvania's ABLE program has some added protections that other states don't offer. They include that not only federal benefits are protected, but also some state benefits are protected, specifically those having to do with health, disability, and student financial aid. There's also some nice tax savings for individuals in Pennsylvania who have a Pennsylvania ABLE. Any growth in that ABLE account doesn't face either state or federal income tax. And a person who's contributing to an ABLE account, if it's a Pennsylvania ABLE account and it's a Pennsylvania taxpayer, they can deduct that contribution from their state taxable income. So I could contribute up to $18,000 to an ABLE account and deduct that from my state taxable income in Pennsylvania, which is really, really nice. Next slide, please. So we're going to talk a little bit about eligibility. There are two factors that go into eligibility. The first is the age of onset for the disability. So the way that the law has been, an individual's disability must begin before their 26th birthday in order to be qualified for ABLE. That age is going to expand to age 46 beginning January 1st, 2026. So that will allow us to include more veterans, more people with autoimmune diseases, and just more people in general. So an individual can be any age when they open their ABLE account. They can be an infant, they can be a senior citizen, as long as their disability began before the appropriate age. The other factor is the severity of the disability. So if a person qualifies for SSI or SSDI, then they automatically qualify for ABLE. Qualify for one of those, then they can self-certify. That's what I did with my children. Self-certification basically means that you have written diagnosis from a physician who meets Social Security Administration criteria, saying that the disability is causing marked and severe functional limitations and is expected to last for at least a year. This because these are really specialized accounts with nice tax benefits and protection of other kinds of benefits, so they're not available to just anyone. Next slide, please. So most people find that the easiest way to enroll is online. You can go to paable.gov and click on enroll. In Pennsylvania, we also allow people to fill out a paper application if they feel more comfortable with that. You can print that out from our website, or you can call the number that's in the far right column on the slides that you're seeing. The ABLE helpline is 855-529-ABLE, and they will mail an application to your house if that's easier for you. Applying is a lot like applying for an online credit card or bank account. You're going to answer basic demographic questions and a few questions about the disability itself. Enrollment takes about 15 minutes. Next slide, please. So in Pennsylvania, ABLE accounts are pretty easy to use. There is an interest-bearing checking option, and that comes with a free debit card, and that has a notch in it, which is helpful for individuals with vision loss. That is free to use at in-network ATM machines, and I think there's about 60,000 in-network ATM machines nationwide. People can use that also at stores. There are also 6 investment portfolio options. Those range from conservative to aggressive. They're all a mix of stocks and bonds and cash. So you can invest in something that you feel comfortable with. You can do a little research on those and determine how you want to invest. And you can invest in just one of those or any combination up to all 7 if you'd like to. You also can direct deposit your Social Security benefits right into an ABLE account. You can direct deposit some or all of your paycheck directly into an ABLE account. You can link your ABLE account to an existing bank account, so it's easy to move money back and forth. So there's a lot of flexibility in how you put money in there. We do encourage people to save receipts for many expenses. We don't need them at Treasury. It's just in case you're ever audited. Next slide, please. So when ABLE was set up, an individual with a disability who was of age was required to open and manage that account for themselves. Things have become a little more flexible than that now. So an adult with the legal capacity to enter into a contract certainly can open his own ABLE account if you'd like to, but he also can open he also can ask any other person of his choosing to open and manage that account on his behalf if he would like to do that. If the person with a disability is 18 or lacks the legal capacity to enter into a contract, then the ABLE account must be opened by another person. We call that person the authorized individual. And the authorized individual can be a person with power of attorney, a legal guardian or conservator, a spouse, a parent, a sibling, a grandparent, or a Social Security Administration represented payee. Next slide, please. So PA ABLE can be a real game changer for some people. As the parent of 2 young adults with disabilities, I have to say my favorite thing about ABLE is that it can be used for a huge variety of expenses. It's not like, hey, you save this money and now you have one option of how you spend it. You can use it on housing, utilities, transportation, education, assistive technology, healthcare, prevention and wellness. There's just a huge variety of things that you can use it for. It is spelled out that you can use it for everyday expenses like clothing and food. So you can use ABLE to save for long-term things like retirement or a house or a car, or you can use it for just everyday expenses. There's a lot of flexibility there. Next slide, please. The Able to Work Act is also pretty wonderful. It allows individuals who are employed and who are not contributing during this tax year to a defined contribution plan, an annuity contract, or a deferred compensation plan. It allows them to contribute above that $18,000 limit that we talked about. And the most that a person could contribute this tax year is $30,590. So that allows people to invest even more in their ABLE account. Next slide, please. I do want to mention too, if you are a professional represented payee who manages numerous accounts, Pennsylvania Treasury does have a frequently asked question sheet that may be helpful to you. And we do have regular meetings with represented payees and Social Security to handle some of the issues that can come up. So if that is you, feel free to add your information there and we can add you to that list. Next slide, please. Just to summarize again, most ABLE accounts can receive up to $18,000 this year. People can save while they're maintaining their benefits. And there are some great federal and state tax advantages, and it helps people to live an everyday life. So we at Pennsylvania Treasury are here to help you in any way we can. You can call the ABLE helpline, which is 855-529-ABLE. That's open from 8 to 5 on weekdays. Thanks very much.
Alrighty, well, thank you so much for sharing that information with us, Diana. I'm now going to provide an overview on how Senator Casey's office may be of assistance to constituents regarding Social Security issues and navigating federal agencies. Go ahead to the next slide. So Senator Casey's Office of Constituent Services consists of a team of constituent advocates who assist constituents who are experiencing an issue with a federal agency. This includes, but is not limited to, Social Security benefits, missing passports, IRS problems, VA benefits, immigration snags, SBA concerns, and more. After receiving written permission, our office is able to follow up with a federal agency on a constituent's behalf to check on the status of pending claims or appeals, ask questions, relay information and concerns, and demonstrate Senator Casey's interest in a matter. Under the law and rules of the U.S. Senate, we cannot force a federal agency to act in someone's favor. And it's important to note that if we cannot provide assistance, such as with a state or a private entity, we can refer constituents to someone who can best help. Go to the next slide. With regards to Social Security disability, we can assist constituents who have questions regarding their appeal status, such as income or asset limit questions. We can also ask constituents, assist constituents navigate the different programs within the Social Security Administration, such as Social Security retirement, spousal, and survivor benefits, SSI, and Medicare Parts A and B enrollment. The most common Social Security cases include Social Security disability appeals and back pay, replacement Social Security cards, questions regarding status of retirement claims, overpayments, and Medicare enrollment questions. Go to the next slide. If you like to request assistance from Senator Casey's Office of Constituent Services, either with a Social Security question or for an issue with another federal agency, please do not hesitate to contact our office. Our phone number is 717-231-7540, option number 2. Or you can call our toll-free number, which is 866-461-9159. And you can also reach out to Senator Casey's office via our website. So we will now open this portion of the presentation for questions for Social Security, PA ABLE, or Senator Casey's office. If you have a question, you can click the Q&A button, which is at the bottom right of your screen. Again, please note that this is a public call, so we ask that you please keep your questions general. If you have a specific issue, please feel free to contact us via the information on the screen. So we currently have 2 questions. So the first one is for Richard. So they state, with medical determination, is a determination from the date you were diagnosed or the date you appeal? For example, if diagnosed with autism in 2019, but apply for Social Security June 1st of 2024, do you get the benefits as of 2019 or June 1st, 2024?
Okay, well, what we will do is we will establish what they say a date of onset of the disability. And generally in that situation you're talking about here, we would go back and set the disability onset date at some date in the past. Now, one thing to be aware of is that on Social Security disability claims, the period for which you can be paid retroactively is only for 1 year. So if a person had a disability that began, prior to that, then it's sort of immaterial going all the way back, because as long as they can establish it was a year, and then allowing another 5 months for the waiting period. So basically, it's like 17 months. If they can establish that, then the person will have full retroactivity. But retroactivity in full would be a year's worth of payments. So we would generally go back as far as we can to establish the date of onset of the disability.
Great, thank you, Richard.
Yeah.
And then our next question is for Diana. The constituent asks, are SNAP benefits protected from income in the PA ABLE account?
I believe SNAP is a federal benefit. Is that right, Andrea?
So it's actually a state benefit.
Yeah. So all federal means tested benefits are protected, and Pennsylvania benefits having to do with health, disability, and student financial aid are protected. So I'm not sure if SNAP would categorize as falling under health. I apologize, but I can't answer that.
All right, thank you anyway, Diana. Alrighty, so those are all the questions that we have. If anyone thinks of a question after the webinar, you have the information to contact Senator Casey's office on the screen, and we can put you in connection with either Richard or Diana. All right, well, again, I thank our panelists for joining us today, and I thank you, the viewer, for attending today's webinar. We hope you all have a wonderful rest of your day.